How's it going there, guys? I'm back. I'm gonna start making reviews again. Sorry I was gone for a little bit. I just needed time to, rest from doing all those Halloween reviews, and also I was sick like the past week, and I just got better, so, yeah. I actually have the sniffles a little bit, but, that's probably why I'm gonna sound a little bit weird, but just bear with me here. So here we go. I just recently saw this film, and it just came out like not too long ago. I believe it came out like last week or something, and I saw it the day it came out, and the film is called Love, and it is directed by one of my personal favorite filmmakers, Gaspar Noé, who is responsible for actually making one of my favorite films of all time, Irreversible. I'm a huge fan of this guy's work. I'm a huge fan of Irreversible, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but that's actually what I use for my intro, is music from the Irreversible soundtrack. But yeah, he also did Enter the Void, which I really love. That's probably one of my favorites as well. And he also did a film called I Stand Alone. It was his first full-length feature film, which I actually have not seen yet. The only way to watch that movie is if you buy the DVD on Amazon, and I haven't gotten around to buying it yet, but I will do that eventually, and I will watch it, and I will hopefully review it. Also, I will review Irreversible and Enter the Void as well. I was actually gonna, review all three of these movies, in one big thing, but I just didn't have time, so I'm just gonna review his newest film as of now. But yeah, Love. Where to start? You guys have probably heard of this movie. If you haven't, then I'm not surprised. This film was released in limited theaters, and I honestly have been waiting for this movie to come out for a long time now. Ever since I saw Enter the Void, I've been waiting for Gaspar Noé's next film to come out, and this is it. It's finally here, and I finally watched it. Waited so many years for this to come out, and I saw it, and here are my thoughts. Now, before I say anything else about this film, let me just get this out of the way. Love is not a porno. It's not. There is, an excessive amount of sex and nudity in it. It's not a porno, believe it or not. Because porn is, how do I put this? It's, meant to attract and arouse the viewer, if you know what I mean. But this is different. The kind of sex in this film is different. It's definitely not meant to, arouse the viewer. It's definitely has, a more mature approach to it, and it's just very kind of powerful and emotional in a way. And as Gaspar Noé put it, he described it as a film that will be a love story seen from a sexual point of view. So rather than this, meant to be arousing the viewer in a way, this is actually real emotional sex. So it's not a porno film in any way. It's there's definitely a story, which a lot of pornos don't have. But I just wanted to get that out of the way because the film has a lot of excessive amount of nudity and sex in it. But it's not porn. So yeah. Anyways, the film, I don't know how to describe it to you. I mean, I guess I do. There is definitely a story here. I was actually really surprised because I thought there was going to be a lot less of a plot here, but there is a lot of story, and I was really surprised. But the thing with this movie is I just kind of went into it not knowing much about it, besides it did have a lot of sex and nudity in it, and I didn't really know much about it besides it was a Gaspar Noé film, and he's one of my favorite filmmakers, so I knew it was going to be something interesting, and I was really pumped to see it. But again, I really didn't know anything about it, so I didn't, know what to expect, and I actually ended up really liking this movie. And because of that, I'm not really going to tell you what the film is about. I guess I'll give you a little brief details, I don't know. Basically, you're following an American man named Murphy, and he lives in, where does he live in? He lives in Paris, and he, long story short, he has a baby with his wife, and he's not a very happy man, and he gets a phone call from an ex-lover who he still secretly loves, and he just kind of, looks back at the times that he had with that, ex-lover, and how the wife he has now kind of came into their life, and that's basically all I'm gonna say without giving away too much about it. But yeah, like I said, I was really surprised. This movie actually kind of had a story to it, and it just wasn't pointless sex scenes. The sex in this movie actually, were kind of emotional in a way. And what actually really surprised me about this film is that there's a lot of really powerful scenes in here. I was not really expecting that, so I was just kind of surprised. And another thing that really surprised me is that the film isn't as raunchy as I thought it would be, or as it's made out to be. It's not as raunchy, there's not, there are definitely a lot of really raunchy stuff in here, obviously, but there's not that much. There's actually a lot more story focused here, which I really like. The film is shot beautifully. It is definitely one of the most beautifully filmed movies I've seen this year. And of course, I'm not surprised considering the fact that this is a Gaspar Noé film, who often makes, you know, very visually stunning movies. So this was a very good looking movie. The cinematography, everything looked very good, and that's definitely the best thing about this movie is how it looks and how beautiful it is. And you know, it's a movie that's definitely more, you know, style over substance. Like, it's a very stylish film, and there's just a lot of very vibrant colors, and it looks so good. Good. But as far as a Gaspar Noé film goes, I wouldn't really call this his best. I would say I enjoyed Irreversible and Enter the Void a lot more than this film. However, that is not saying much, considering the fact that I still really like this movie. Gaspar Noé is also known for making very violent films, and just because Enter the Void and Irreversible, especially Irreversible, were very graphic movies, but this, there's like not even like, I don't think, a speck of blood in this movie. Like, it's just very, very tame. Violence-wise, of course, you know, there's definitely, it's not a very tame movie, but violence-wise, this is definitely not a very violent film. And I think it's really cool to see him take a different approach, you know, as a filmmaker, and not make a very graphic film. Although I love his graphic films, it was definitely nice for him to make, you know, a more mature movie. But like I said, I still liked Enter the Void and Irreversible a lot more. And what I liked about those movies is that they were very memorable, you know? They just had a lot of scenes to it that just kind of stuck with you. This movie doesn't really have that, besides the excessive amount of sex in it. Like, there's not a whole lot of scenes that you'll be remembering for the rest of your life, like as would Irreversible and Enter the Void. There just isn't a lot of memorable stuff in this movie, and I think that's what made his earlier films so important. And also what I've noticed is that, this may just be a coincidence, but his movies seem to have a pattern, because Irreversible seemed to have like an excessive amount of violence, and Enter the Void had an excessive amount of drugs, and Love has an excessive amount of sex. So it's just, it kind of like, you know, there's a little pattern here, I don't know. But yeah, this is an extremely raunchy movie. As I mentioned, it's like, I know I said it's not as raunchy as I thought it would be, but that's still not saying much. Like, this movie is extremely launchy. Like, finding the poster for this movie was the hardest part, because, believe it or not, this was the least raunchy poster I could find online. Like, all the other posters for this movie were not very YouTube appropriate, so I couldn't really use them. So, this is all I got. But yeah, I really liked Love. It was pretty good movie. I enjoyed it, although I do have a couple of complaints. One thing I did not like about this movie is that it dragged on way too long. It has a runtime of like 2 hours and 15 minutes, I believe, which is 135 minutes, and I think they definitely could have cut some stuff out in this movie. It was just really long, and honestly, like, I'd say the last half hour of this movie, I was kind of checking my watch going, okay, let's just wrap up the movie now, I get the point. But yeah, I guess that's one of my main complaints, is that it just kind of dragged on a little too long, and it definitely could have been cut a little bit into like a more shorter movie. And I guess another thing I didn't like was the ending to this film. I mean, I like the ending, it just kind of, I felt like it just, there wasn't really an ending. The movie really doesn't give any answers in the end, and it just kind of ends with you not really knowing what happens. And it's kind of hard to talk about this because, again, I don't want to spoil it for you what happens, or, like, you know, what the main conflict in this movie is, but it never really explains it in the end, and I didn't really like that. I just kind of wish that they did, because, you know, I want to know what happens, man. What the hell? I also really liked how, I noticed this hang on. I noticed this in a movie that, there was a scene, like, in the movie where, the couple were kind of talking about, like, you know, if they had a baby, what would they name it? Like, what would they want to name their baby if they ever had one? And, the guy goes, I want to name my baby Gaspar. And then it was just kind of funny, because she was like, yeah, Gaspar's a really good name. And he was like, yeah, Gaspar. Like, Gaspar Noé really wanted people to know that this was his movie, so they put that little Easter egg in there, and he was like, yep, that's my name. And it's just kind of funny because they were like, yeah, Gaspar. Gaspar is such a cool name. Whoever has the name Gaspar is such a cool person. I'm definitely gonna name my baby Gaspar. Like, I swear to God, at one point he looked at the camera like, yeah, Gaspar. That's a really cool name. And there's actually another character in this movie named Noé. So you have somebody named Gaspar and somebody named Noé in this film, like, as if you didn't know who made this movie. Like, you know, Gaspar Noé just really wanted to make sure that you knew this was his movie, so he put both his first name and his last name as the name of two characters in this movie, just to be sure. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, and I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about this movie. Like I said, it was very stylish. It was definitely a very beautiful looking film. I was actually really surprised that it had a story as well. I didn't expect it to have this much plot in it, but there was actually quite a lot of plot, and there's definitely a lot of sex in it as well. But again, just be aware that this isn't the kind of sex that you'd watch in porn. This is like real emotional sex. And it's actually so cool that a Gaspar Noé film came out this year, because I don't know if you guys know, but Gaspar Noé only makes movies like every 6 or 7 years. Like, he really takes his time making his movies, and he doesn't make them often, which is why he only has like 4 or 5 movies. But yeah, we were just lucky enough this year to actually get a movie from him, and again, we might even have to wait another 6 or 7 years for his movie, his next movie, but I'm sure that the wait will be worth it, so I'll be looking forward to that. Also, another thing I want to mention quickly before I end this review is that I actually read this on IMDb. I thought this was pretty interesting, so I thought I should share it with you guys. But he actually intended to make this film. It was originally called Danger. It was never meant to be called Love, but he actually wanted to make this movie after I Stand Alone before he did Irreversible. So like around 2000, I think he wanted to do this movie. And the main character, there was something like that didn't work out. Like, the main characters weren't comfortable, you know, doing like the sex scenes and all that, because there was a lot of it in this movie. So because of that, he decided to make Irreversible instead, and then eventually he made Enter the Void, and then finally he made this movie where he, you know, he got people who are actually comfortable enough to make this movie. So technically, this is like a movie that he's been wanting to do for like 15 years, and which is really cool considering the fact that he like had this movie idea before like Irreversible and Enter the Void came out. So yeah, it's just a little fun fact, I guess. But yeah, guys, I'm just gonna kind of shut up now and end this review. But yeah, overall, Love is a very, very well-made film, but like I said, it's definitely more style over substance, but like I said, it's still very well-made. Definitely one of the most beautiful-looking movies I've seen this year, and overall, I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 5. It's definitely not my favorite Gaspar Noé film, but I still really liked it, although I wouldn't really recommend this movie to you guys. This movie is not for everybody, as you could probably tell. I'm not recommending you go and see this movie. It's definitely, like I said, not for everyone, but if it seems interesting enough to you, or you think you can handle it, go ahead and check it out. You'll probably like it. But if you guys really aren't into this kind of slow, artsy stuff, then I would definitely stay away from this movie. But personally, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching this review. I'm Jacob Palacio. Thank you so much for watching this review. I already said that. I'm not thinking straight. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Jacob Palacio, and I will see you guys later.